This is the Cami app that is going to allow us to annotate, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to draw on the PDF document. You can't really edit a PDF document without special software, so we're going to use Cami to annotate. Focus your attention here on the left panel. Here's where all of your tools are at. Let's click the bottom double caret arrow to the right, and that expands it out so you can see the names of all of the tools. We have a select tool, a dictionary tool, a text-to-speech tool, a markup tool, a comment tool, text box equation, drawing, shapes, eraser, image, and signature. In addition to all of these tools and the toggle for the names, if you want to move it to the other side, you have to toggle out the names and then select, I want to move the toolbar over to the right side. I like the toolbar on the left side. Choose what works best for you. The select tool is simply that. You can select text. When I select it, if I click away from it, nothing happens to it. Well, let's compare that to the markup tool. The markup tool is a text highlighter. If I choose the color blue and I select that same text and then click away from it, well, that has been annotated, it has been marked on. If I don't like that, I hover my cursor over it, go up to the trash can, and it's gone. And then I decide, no, I changed my mind, I actually did want that. You could go back and re-highlight that, reselect it, or you could just go up to the undo button up at the top of the toolbar. So now that I've highlighted it, let's take a look at, I want to make a comment about this particular highlight that I made. So I'm going to ask, don't we eat at noon? Now, if I press the return key, it automatically puts that in as my comment. That's really convenient and that's really nice. That way you can ask specific questions about not having understood what the author's intent was, or maybe having a specific question about it. Why did they not talk about this information? It's just a really good tool for that. You may not type as quickly as Mr. Sahagan, even though I don't really type all that quickly. Let's make another selection. I've selected it, and I changed my mind. I don't want it to be blue. I hover over it. This pop-up opens. I put my cursor over the color, and I actually want this one to be red. So now I've changed it to red, which looks incredibly pink to me. But now I also want to have a comment on this. I hover on it. I get the same dialog box. I hover over the cursor, but this time I want to use voice typing. You're going to click on the microphone, and it's probably going to ask you for permission. Why didn't it ask me for permission? ? I click to activate the microphone. I click to deactivate the microphone. Speak clearly, and it will type in exactly what you're saying. Do expect it to ask you for permission. When it does ask you for permission, it's going to start the whole process over. The call-out box, the comment box will go away, and you'll have to reselect it. Notice what happens when I select this highlight. It highlights this comment because this comment is associated with the one that I selected, or this one that I've selected. You can delete them using the trash can. You can change the color. If you use the eraser and you say delete all annotations, and I click and I just hover over it, nothing happens. If it's a markup, you're going to have to click on the annotation, and I have to go to select text, click, and then I can delete. But if I'm using, let's say, the text box, and I also use the drawing tool, and I put in another comment right here. comment. That's not working for me. I guess you can't select it there. It has to be existing text because I guess it doesn't make sense to make a comment on something that you've commented by using the text tool. So that kind of makes sense. But if I do want to make a comment, it's similar to highlighting, freezing, and cold. Yes, it is cold. So now when I go back to the eraser, if I click and hold, now remember on your trackpad, you're clicking and holding with one finger with one hand, and then you're dragging with the other. And anything you touch is going to disappear. Even your text, but not the things that you have marked up. Now you can go over here and clear your comments by clicking the X, and it does get rid of the markup as well. That's the basic introduction to Cami. But before we move on, I want to show one more thing, and that is the Save button. Save and turn in. When I click on Save, it's going to show you that all changes have been saved right here. It shows you the class that this assignment was made in, that all changes were saved, and that it was saved a few seconds ago. What that means is if you don't do anything and maybe the power goes out, maybe you closed the browser, you walked away and someone else came on the computer and changed things, as long as you don't clear the cache, all of this should still be here. And if it's not, then I have had that happen before and it's really frustrating. But I always come back in here and click Save Now. After I click Save Now, I go up here and I click Turn In. This is going to turn it in. It's going to save it to Google Drive. So it says that it's turning in the assignment, and depending on the connection, your internet speed, it may take a little while. You'll notice that turn in is now turned to unsubmit. Why would I need to unsubmit? Well, let's take a look at that and see. When I go back to the assignment and I see this, here it says unsubmit as well. It says that it was turned in. I can't make any changes to this. Unless Mr. Sahagan has returned it back to you with some suggestions that you need to make certain changes, if you realized, oh, I forgot to do this thing, or I forgot to take this out and clean this up, you wanted to go change it, you would first have to come here, either into your Google Classroom and unsubmit. If this is still open, if Cami, the tab for Cami is still open, you can also unsubmit here. So if I click unsubmit, now it's talking to Google Classroom and saying, can I have that paper back? Okay, you can have the paper back. So when I come back over here and I look at it, it's changed. It says that it's assigned and it needs to be turned in. But now I can make changes to it. Now those are the very, very basic and most important pieces to Cami. Please let me know if you have any questions.